Hello, welcome to Professor Skye's Record Review, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the gym. So, one of my policies is I don't review albums that I think are trash. I don't review albums that I think are bad. I really try to avoid artists that I don't respect. I do this for a lot of reasons. The main one is I respect all artists. Even if they're making music I don't like, it's kind of boring just to pile on them. Now, it's done well by a lot of people, and I enjoy watching, trash, hate, bad. I get it, but that's just not what I choose to put out into the universe. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me to cover Coldplay. And it's not even that I hate Coldplay. I have had sort of an amazingly tepid thought about Coldplay for as long as I can remember. But what I really want to do is kind of answer the question, at least to myself, like, what is Coldplay? What are they to me? In order to get there, let me kind of take you back into a story. Now, this story is a little bit like kind of Eurotrashy and Pretentious, which I actually feel, that works pretty well with Coldplay, who themselves are kind of Eurotrashy and Pretentious. But it's a story that goes back to a time I spent in Bordeaux, France. So I spent a week with this girl in Bordeaux, France, who I'd never met, a friend of a friend, and I just stayed at her house and watched her and her friends smoke a lot of dope, and it was a nice weekend. As much fun as you can have watching other people get high, which is kind of fun. And one day I kind of got sick of it, and so I went to the Fnac, which is like a record store in Bordeaux. And I remember because, I was all excited, I was super into Radiohead, and I saw this giant display on the Fnac, and it just said, Coldplay. And it had that weird cold, Rush of Blood to the Head album with the upside down goat or whatever that thing is. And I remember sort of overhearing, here and there, that Coldplay is going to be the new Radiohead, the next Radiohead, So I remember walking up to there's a little tower with the CD and putting on the headphones and pressing play. And I listened, I was like, okay, and I hit skip. I was like, okay, and I hit skip. And at the end I just sort of said, CDs back then cost $20, $25, in France with euros and all that. I was like, it's not for me. It's not great. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I just kind of said, not for me, not great. Certainly doesn't give me that Radiohead vibe. So in this video, which I think I'm going to call Coldplay Is, I want to start off with Coldplay is not a poor man's Radiohead. I really don't think they are. In a way, that's like an insult, because to be a poor man's Radiohead, you'd be a pretty great band anyway. I think of it like Skeet Ulrich was the poor man's Johnny Depp, but you have to be pretty handsome to be a poor man's Johnny Depp, But I don't think they are a poor man's Radiohead. I will say one of my favorite things about Coldplay, so since that moment in 2002, Coldplay has become everywhere, and I've heard their songs everywhere, and I've never formed an opinion. I've never said yes, I've never said no to this gigantic rock band. But one thing I've always liked is the lead singer and his attitude towards himself. I think it was in Q magazine in England. It was an interview with Chris Martin, and he talked about Radiohead. And he referred to Coldplay as being like little tiny dogs, biting at the ankles of Radiohead. So this kind of self-awareness, his capacity of understanding that he himself is not that cool, is not that forward, is not that revolutionary, made me a lot more sympathetic towards him and towards them. Because it's true, they're nothing compared to Radiohead. They're nothing. They're a mole on Radiohead's foot, But if they can recognize that, I think that puts them in a better place. So as I've been living my life and exposed to Coldplay song after Coldplay song and performances, I think they even played the Super Bowl. Is that right? I think they did. I've come to realize that this idea that they know that they're not cool really does help to save them, because it means they're not trying so hard. They're willing to be kind of dumb and goofy and sort of aware of the fact that they're not your older brother's band that he likes and that you want to be cool. I've talked a lot this last week about coolness. They know they're not cool and they're okay with it. Sorry, the light is changing a lot. It's a beautiful day here in Rochester. It's a couple days before, but I feel like maybe I should move over here so the light is more like neutral. I'll push my couch out of the way. Okay, I think that's better. Okay. You see, I don't edit these videos. Okay, so they're not a poor man's Radiohead, but I do think that they are a poor man's U2. By that I mean, their songs, when they're good, they aren't as good as a good U2 song. And when they're bad, they're not as good as a bad U2 song. But still, the sort of like anthemic nature, the weird political commentary, this album is really filled with lots of hit you over the head, beat the horse till it's dead, beating a dead horse over the head with its message. That's how much it just wears it on its sleeve. But still, you know, why not sing a song about police brutality? I mean, right? There's nothing saying that millionaire rock stars shouldn't sing about social injustice. I mean, okay, there's a lot of people saying they shouldn't do that, but in the same way that like U2, you sort of have to respect the fact that they're preachy, that they're preaching to their fans, and that they're able to fill stadiums with these kind of anthemic rock songs. They're using their power for good in a pretentiously Eurotrash way. Damn, I really hit on a good theme there. Okay, now this might sound, I was talking to my wife on the way here. She actually is the one who really challenged me to do this video. I was going to review this like Finnish indie pop guy who I'm going to get to tomorrow probably. Much easier to review. But this is really complicated because I like trying to give reviews where they're not positive but not negative either. And she said, you got to do Coldplay. My brother also said, you got to do Coldplay. And this is what I think is the best thing I can say about Coldplay. That sounds like the biggest insult. They are a poor man's U2 and a rich man's Maroon 5. Okay, I can hear you there going, ooh. But listen, douchey lead singer, check. Douchey handsome lead singer, check. Middle of the road rock and roll. That's the main check that I'm giving that's comparing them. Middle of the road, MOR, is a legitimate category in radio. It's just the stations are called MOR stations. And in some ways, like the reason that rock and roll is dead is not just that people like hip hop more, but that like if this is what passes as rock and roll, we're in a little bit of trouble here. Because this middle of the road, catchy chorus, kind of bland, sort of super white with random other cultural elements sprinkled in. You know, like somebody who like, you know, bought a world music sampler at Starbucks, you know, like it's not good for rock and roll. But Coldplay is not Maroon 5. Like they're so much better. Like Chris Martin is a better singer. They write better songs. I think they're a real band. You know, all the tracks are credited as being written by the four members. They're not written by four members and Max Martin and Jack Antonoff and like 5 other super producers and DJ Dr. Luke or whatever. You know, like they are a real band. It just happens to be that their artistic vision, I believe this, their artistic vision is middle of the road. I don't think if you gave them 1,000,000 years and all the street cred in the world, they would ever produce anything like Radiohead could. But I also don't think that they would ever sell out as completely or as intentionally as Maroon 5 does. You know, when I think about both of these bands, they both just exist in the background of my life. I think about, you know, going to Trader Joe's, and there's a right next to Trader Joe's, there's this like arcade, and they always play music there, you know, and like that music is sort of like the soundtrack of our lives. And if it's Maroon 5, I'm in a bad mood. Girls like you, like me, girls, me, girls, you, me, girls, me, girl. No, just it's the worst, just the worst. Terrible music. I don't review Maroon 5. I will never review Maroon 5 because I hate them that much. But Coldplay, even if it's like one of their most annoying songs, like Yellow 2 or, you know, that big one, I ruled the world. Like, they're good songs. They're well written. They're well enough produced. It's not just like some kind of hyper-intentional melding of electronic and acoustic, and it's not cheap. So that's why I call them sort of the MOR saviors. Like, they will save us from Maroon 5. Everybody needs to support Coldplay because we're not going to get Radiohead on the radio. We're not going to get Andrew Bird on the radio. But if we have to choose, let's choose Coldplay because they're not that bad. It's kind of funny, you know, like this album, even the release is a super middle of the road release date. It's like right before Thanksgiving. It makes me think of, you know, like growing up when people used to get CDs for Christmas. You know, it's like, this is what you get your dad for Christmas. Like, you like Coldplay, don't you? Yeah, I guess. Thanks. And then, you know, they put it in their car and listen to it for the next couple of months. The final thing I will say for Coldplay is, and then I'll give you the review of the whole record. What a little video essay I'm doing here. It's exciting. Is Coldplay is also, I think, the Gwyneth Paltrow of music. Now, that's unfair because Chris Martin used to be married to Gwyneth Paltrow, so that's an easy comparison. But, like, Gwyneth Paltrow is super annoying and super privileged and super white. And what I mean by, like, super white, I mean, like, in a sort of difficult, culturally appropriating, like, I'm enlightened, but I don't understand how much my enlightenedness is a byproduct of the privilege that I grew up with. I say that as somebody who exudes that kind of whiteness very often myself. So, like, Coldplay is sort of that too, except, like, Gwyneth Paltrow is a very, very good actress. Goop is stupid, I get it, and she's a charlatan, and she's selling, I don't know, vibrating vagina eggs for not $300. It doesn't really matter. She's actually a good actress. When she does what it is that she does, she is good at it. She's not bad at it. And when Coldplay makes music, it turns out, after listening to an hour of their music very intently, they make good music. They're annoying. I don't particularly like them. I don't think I ever want to seek them out. I'm not going to go to their back catalog and say, Yellow 2, and get all excited. But much like if I see Gwyneth Paltrow's in a movie, I just go, all right, good. She can carry a scene. They can carry an album. So, there it is. That's what Coldplay is. And if you don't want to hear a review of their record, you can just turn it off now and subscribe if you want first. But if you want to hear a review of the actual record, here it is. It's really ambitious. It's a 2-volume album that's 1 hour long. So, I mean, I don't know why that had to be 2 volumes, except I think it's sort of a spiritual thing. I do think, even though they're very clearly not trying to be Radiohead, they are ambitious on this record. There's a lot of interesting tracks that are produced differently. It doesn't feel like there's any one song that they're trying to make the hit, the anthemic song. It starts off with kind of a nice string song, like an instrumental song called Sunrise, and then goes to this track, Church, which is a little bit overproduced, but it's nice. Like, I think the drummer is actually playing drums. I think it's an actual drummer, and there's like this snap and this nice kind of compressed drum sound. It's like, it has like this chant at the end that's kind of interesting. And if I were cynical, I could tear this album apart. I could. Really, it's not difficult at all. That's part of why I like doing this channel and having a no negative review thing. If I set my mind to it, I could tear this thing apart. But what's the fun in that? Is that why is that why we're here? To put each other down? So if you kind of check your cynicism, then you hear these chants coming in at the end, and the lyrics are a little bit pretentious about church and this whole like religious overtones to this record, but it's not bad. And that leads to Trouble in Town, which, oh my God, you have to keep your cynicism off. It's got this great rumbling bass. It's actually really cool because at the end, the guitars come in and actual like drums happen. It ends with like an African children's chorus. Very kind of downbeat, piano-led, bass-led song. But it's all about police brutality. And it's not just about police brutality. There is literally, and I'm not joking about this lyric, he says there's trouble with my brother Brown, which made me think of Job Bluth in Arrested Development singing with Franklin. Like, what does some British millionaire have to do with police brutality in America? Does he have a right to sing about it? In the middle, there's this whole like skit with the police officer mistreating an African American. And here's my argument. Yes. Chris Martin doesn't have that much to sing about. He's not doing the damn Maroon 5 thing of just creating some kind of vague love song to nobody. He's not just singing about himself 100% of the time and how much trouble he's in. He doesn't have that much to say. So why not talk about police brutality? I'm not going to listen to this song again. I don't love it. But this is the uncynical way of looking at it. Yes, police brutality in America is one of the biggest problems in the world. So why not address it? Why not address injustice? Then, okay, like the cynical button, like I had to just hold my hand back from flicking that cynical switch. Because the next track is a gospel song with Chris Martin leading like an entire chorus of what sounds like a black church. The thing is, it's a good song. It's well sung. It's not bad. So you have like Chris Martin singing like, "My Lord," you know? My cynicism wants to come out, but it's a well-written track. It's very well mixed. It's really nice actually having a non-gospel singer singing with a full gospel chorus behind him. Not a full one, kind of a small one, maybe like 5 or 6 singers. So I don't know. Shine your light, Lord, says Chris Martin, the guy who was married to Gwyneth Paltrow. Followed up by Daddy. And Daddy is maybe the most important song on the record because I think it's the most personal song. He's not singing about the problems of the world. I think he's singing about being an absent father because when you're a rock star, when you travel for work like he does, I imagine that carries with it a lot of guilt. So thank you, Chris Martin, for writing that song. It's very mournful, just on a piano. It's about being distant, but it's not cheesy at all. It's just a minimal, bare bones track about fatherhood. One of my favorite topics. How you out there, you Coldplay hater, because you hate When I Used to Rule the World or whatever. Hey man, it's not Maroon 5. Then the track POTPWOTW, or some conglomeration of letters, is just him playing guitar and singing, and it's weird. It sounds like a demo, has a nice little melody at the end that goes up high. I don't know what the idea is here. There's lots of birds singing. I think maybe he's like recording this in a little tropical place. I guess that's the idea. But this is some of the ambition of the record, is leaving something that's very unpolished just on there. And it's unpolished not in a way like, oh, this old thing, let me just write this song. It's not that great of a song, but it's interesting how it leads to a sort of different texture. This doesn't feel like a pop rock album that is designed to sell whatever, to go super platinum. It really doesn't feel that way. It feels like they have some kind of vision. But boy, it's not clear what that vision is. It's just kind of there's like 3 or 4 themes. It's like sort of about religion, sort of about the world's problems and the world being crazy. It's sort of about him. I don't know. Then we lead to Arabesque, and that's the stamp. I'm not going to play it because actually I don't want a copyright strike and give them 45 cents. Coldplay has enough money. But really nice production on this record, on this track. Like slightly distorted horns that then lead into an insanely wonderful, listen to Arabesque just for the horns. Femi Kuti, he's like a horn player. He's just great. He has an excellent horn solo. Really the theme of the album. Chris Martin's also a lot like Sting. He hasn't made any music as good as the Police. But in the way that he can deliver lines that are just so preposterously like hopeful and almost naive, but with a confidence, like he's saying something that no one's ever thought of before. Here it's, where I could be you and you could be me. Man, we're all this, just because I'm so super multi-millionaire and you're just a nobody, you could be me. Can you imagine? But it's nice, it's this whole theme about like the randomness of birth and the random privileges of birth. And then, complete surprise to me, Stromae, the Belgian artist, comes on and sings a verse. Now, for my year-end review, I'm probably going to just talk about the year 2013, which saw the 4 best albums of the decade. And one of them is by Stromae. Stromae is maybe the greatest individual artist alive, as far as like performer. Greatest individual performer alive, who will hopefully release an album at some point. So to hear him, it was nice. Because, I don't know, it's nice to have him more exposed to an English audience. He was singing themes that were close to what Chris Martin was singing, but not exactly the same. So, Chris Martin's singing about all being in the same ocean, whereas Stromae was singing about all being like brooks that lead to the same ocean, which is fine. So that's a really nice track. Just great guest appearances by Femi Kuti and Stromae, and just a well-produced song. Then there's a track, When I Need a Friend, which has like this chorus to it. That's another theme of this album, is friendship. And then rain sounds, lots of kind of ambient sounds. And then we get led to Volume 2. Now, if your cynicism button is on, you got to turn it off immediately, because the track Guns is almost a parody of self-important rock anthems. I mean, it's like legitimately, he rhymes bums with guns, saying that, it's all about the importance of social programs and how we prioritize the military and arms spending over schools. And again, let's just say, okay, someone should say it. Maybe there'll be some crusty, right-wing, super capitalist dude who just likes simple, middle-of-the-road rock music, and he's given the CD for Christmas, and he listens to Guns, and it slightly makes him think about how he's going to allocate funding. I don't know if it's possible. I think it is possible. So why not? Why not, Chris Martin? Be the good you want to see in the world and rhyme bums with guns. I will say, the most damning thing on the album is that this just sounds like Dave Matthews Band. Just the guitar is like... Yeah, another band I'll never review. Then Orphans is like, it's got the woo-woo-woos, and it feels like it's trying to be the single, but it's really not terrible. This is why I call Coldplay the gift, God's gift to middle-of-the-road rock. Because if this song gets played everywhere, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's not going to make you tear your hair out. It's not the worst thing you've ever heard. It's just okay. They're trying pretty hard on this to make it a hit, because they repeat the chorus way too many times. But it's interesting because the song is called Orphans, and he's singing about wanting to go home and to go back to being drunk with his friends. So I don't know. I don't quite get what he's saying, but it's an interesting approach. Okay, cynicism switch. All right, 1 second. It's breaking. Okay. I just have to be cynical for this one. Aiko, dude, don't sing about what it's like in Africa. You just sound like Toto. And I get it, everyone likes Africa now. But it is 2019. It's a good melody. It's actually one of the better songs, like as far as the way it's written. But just, you can't sing about what it's like in Africa. Dude. Ugh. All right. Then Cry, 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 a weird 50s doo-wop track. In a way, this is like Broken, the gospel track on the other album. It's like these weird things where they're just kind of going through genres and doing good versions of them. And I guess you could call it cultural appropriation on both counts. Black gospel culture and American 50s doo-wop culture. I don't know what. But it's fine. It's like a fine song. It's kind of cute. If I heard it on the radio, I wouldn't turn it off. A nice little double distorted voice at the end. It's pretty good. Old Friends, just a track about the desire to reconnect with your old friends. This is a little bit like Rockstar Blues. Like, I'm just so famous. I just can't even talk to Thomas anymore. And then the last two tracks feel like what I thought the whole album was going to be. Like anthemic Coldplay songs. Champions of the World. Kind of a Benz era Radiohead guitar line ripoff. I don't hate his voice, but I don't love it. I did actually like this song quite a bit because there's real drumming going on. It's sort of like the perfect Coldplay song. Like if you pressed a button on a computer that said make a Coldplay song, this is what would come out. I will say that for an album that talks a lot about social injustice and about the ambiguities of our involvement in the third world and how we're all the same, like between this, Champions of the World, and When I Ruled the World, Coldplay is quite imperialistic. Even in this song, he talks about like sailing west. And if you're a Coldplay fan and you're watching this and I'm misreading it, please let me know. My trademark is stupidity, okay? Like I could be wrong on this. But it really seems like kind of like When I Ruled the World is like, that's a post-colonial anthem, right? I mean, how else are you supposed to read that? some British guy talking about when I used to rule the world. So there's a little bit of confusion here about whether or not they are an imperial band, like pro-imperialism. Like, incidentally, I mean, I don't think they would ever say they're pro-imperialism, but this thematics of like ruling the world, yeah, man, yeah. And then ending with everyday life, it feels like a song trying to be an epic ending, and it mostly is. The theme of this is basically people are hurting. Not me. People are hurting. I think you might actually say that's more or less the theme of the whole album. People are hurting, but not me. It's nice though. The best lyric on the album, going to keep dancing when the lights go out. Not bad. Ends with Alleluia. So the religious tones end up coming back. So there it is. It's kind of a mess thematically. Like I said, they're aiming for something. It's not clear what it is. I am very happy that I took Coldplay seriously. I turned off my cynicism switch. I was open to the fact that they're not terrible. And when they release another album, I'll listen to it. But I probably won't listen to them before then. Okay, tomorrow or next day, I'm going to get to that Finnish group and review more things that are easier for me to review. Until next time, for Gwyneth Paltrow and all of us at Goop, there's the camera.